Got about 30 minutes of remarks. So this is strange. It seems like every time I hear a search committee talk about how they got to me, there's a theme, and it's always like this. You were at the bottom of the pile. You had no chance to get this job. That does seem, and I always think that maybe it's maybe I need to come in and prove myself, or I think maybe I don't make a great first impression, but I'm glad I say if they'll just give me a chance, maybe the Lord will do something. But so it's been great 5 years. When I think back on that time, the dealing with the Alney committee, as you can tell, they were a total mess. But what made it hard?
We can take care of that.
But what made it difficult was the timing. So the first time I talked to Don, I think I was actually riding on a riverboat in Jefferson, Texas, on a little river bayou cruise, and I'm talking to this man that called me from Alney, and I was very excited. And I was sitting right next to the pastor of the church at the time. We were on a senior adult trip, and Don called me after I had agreed to go down to a church in Conroe and do sort of an interview and preaching. And we had gone down there, and I would say we'd been there, where's Melissa? 20 minutes. We'd been there 20 minutes, wouldn't you say? We were there for 20 minutes in Conroe, and I said, so this is what a no feels like from the Holy Spirit. I guess we'd never known a no. And this is crazy. It's so great to know what a no from the Lord feels like, because this is a no. And we didn't like anything about it. We didn't get, it was amazing peace about it. So we went through the weekend, probably like that last interview you had with that fellow. We went through the weekend, I preached, and I tried to do a good job, all the while knowing this is not where we're going to be. And so I had talked to Don, but he had told me, well, we're looking at other candidates, and so I think it was, I don't remember exactly the way the timeline worked out, but we came back from Conroe, and we drove back, and they asked us to come and view the call, and we said no. And I remember thinking, well, Alney is the only other church I'm really dealing with, and they seem pretty non-committal, which now you can tell they were quite non-committal. So I kind of at that point had kind of in my heart decided, well, let's just stay here and keep doing the music at Wake Village. Let's just plug back in. It was the summer. Summers don't last long. We'll get into another school year. Well, then we were out here in Eastland. I was preaching at a youth camp. And so I did call them after I'd met with them at the time at Abuelo's. The food was great, but it was so loud we didn't really get a chance to talk. And so I felt like I didn't really know enough about the church. I didn't feel like I'd had much of a conversation except with a few people, and just couldn't hear. And I was interested in Gunnar and Jake, and they were at the end of the table, and I didn't get to talk with them very much. And so we drove up here, and the thing I remember is Adelaide coming to Alney. And she said, "Is this where we're going to move?" And we said, "No. We don't know. That we're going to find out." She said, "This is not a place where people live." She said, "Daddy, this is a pit stop." How did she know that? I don't know how you were. You're third grade. Somehow you knew that. But now, do you want to leave Alney? No, we don't want to leave Alney. It's not a pit stop anymore, is it? No, it's not. And then we took them in. We lived in a tiny little parsonage, and they showed us the parsonage at the house. And I remember the kids running through there, and I thought, oh my gosh, this is enormous. This is a huge house. And we went back home, and we just thought, that would be had a much quiet. We met in the parlor. It was a quieter meeting, and I thought, this would be really great. That would be a really great. And so they took a chance. It's kind of one of those things you feel like there's a leading from the Lord, and you're discerning that. And that's what that purpose of that weekend is, to see how things mesh. And I think we stopped at Jacksboro, and we went into Chicken Express, and we were all wearing shorts and t-shirts because we'd driven out here on that Saturday evening. And then we didn't even order any food. We just went in with shorts on and we walked out dressed like this. Thank you very much. And then we drove the rest of the way to Olney. And the first person I met on the parking lot is Dan Winningham still here? Where's Dan? So Dan Winningham was the first person in Olney. I shook hands with. That's a great ambassador, by the way. So met Dan coming in through here, and we had a kind of a fellowship like this. The fellowship hall looked a lot different, just as the whole church looked a lot different back then. But you remember, if you just think about all the things that have changed, that had the blue carpet here, and now we're kind of posh and swanky. But back then it was just the Jan Tyler's traditional Baptist Southern Baptist Fellowship Hall. And I just remember feeling very much at home, and I was nervous, of course, as you would be, but I thought I understand this. I understand this type of life. I understand. Melissa felt the same way. And you get to know people, and I can say what I tell everybody that moves to Olney, or anybody that talks about Olney, I say it's the greatest church in the world, has the greatest people in the world. It's an easy place, because if you love Olney, Olney loves you back, and that's the way I think it is. And we've had the most wonderful experience being the pastor here. The kids love Olney. And Melissa, on the way up here, she said, I kind of feel like we're going to our own funeral. And then she said this, she said, but isn't it so great that we're not coming up here because we're leaving? And I thought, yes, because that's, some of y'all are thinking, well, actually, that would be good for me. But for us, I know we're going to be led by the Lord wherever He has us go. So if He tells us to go from here to China or whatever, we're going to do whatever the Lord would call us to do. But I think the thing about a pastorate is if you can hang in there and you can think about your leadership measured in decades instead of measured in years, and really invest, I think that's when you'll see the most fruit. So it's kind of even an experiment in my life. That's what I'm convicted of. And I don't know how long pastorates are supposed to last, or how long they last, and all these sorts of things, but we're going to be led by the Spirit. And I think the best thing my pastor, Brother Jimmy, told me to do was, he said, just never look at the other side of the fence, and never think the grass is greener, and just plug in and dig in wherever you are, and just let the Lord lead. So that's what we're doing. So we're just so thrilled and pleased. And it's not really about me or us as a church. I pray that what we would be about is glorifying God in all that we do, in every area of our life. And it's not even about one person, the pastor or the pastor's wife, or any single person in the congregation. Each of us is a member of the body. And everybody that's a member of the body matters, and everybody's important. Some of us are more visible. Some of us get to be the mouth. But the mouth doesn't get to do anything. It doesn't go anywhere unless it's attached to all the other members. And so I thank you for our family here, and I thank you for your faithfulness and your obedience to Christ. Amen.